from day one, certain things that exist in the society, you do not come and say that this is forbidden from day one. The Holy Prophet forbade certain things from day one. For example, he said, okay, burying your daughters alive is forbidden day one. But there were certain other things that he did not forbid from day one. For example, drinking, he did not say it's forbidden. He said, don't do it. Later on, he said, when you're drunk, you can't pray. He made it more and more difficult. But there came a time that he said, now it's forbidden. For example, from day one, Islam said, on slavery, it said that freeing a slave is buying a house in paradise, for example. For certain things, the penalty was to free a slave. Being dishonest or being, certain behaviors with the slaves were forbidden from day one. He said being cruel to your slaves is against against humanity. And he made all of those rules, but he did not forbid it within his lifetime. So he said, when you have war captives, freeing them is the best thing that you can do. And for Muslims, he said, if you cannot do certain things and certain obligations are not, then free a slave. So he himself would buy slaves, he would train them and then free them. These were the best people in the society when he was training. So the best people in the society would become his slaves. Because they had lived with him and they said, well, he did not treat us like slaves. So, for example, Bilal and others, or Qambar for Imam alayhi salam and Fidda for his daughter, she said, okay, she bought a slave girl and she said, one day you will work and one day I will. She said, well, how does it work then? I'm a slave. She said, well, that's how my rules are. I will wash all the pots and utensils and I will do the housework one day and you will do the housework one day. In a time when there was no social system, he said that you provide for these slaves, and he made a system. And later on it was forbidden by some of his progeny members. And he said now, from day, for example, I don't know how many years after, it was forbidden. So it came in the society, he came in the society where slavery was a common thing, and to say from day one certain things.
So it is now forbidden?
Yes,
for Muslims to have
for
slaves?
buying and selling, it is forbidden, completely forbidden. Unanimously agreed, you cannot buy and sell slaves.
But you can keep slaves.
No, you can't buy and sell
No.
them. You can't inherit. Even if your fathers and mothers have both, then you cannot inherit them.
And what if that you have servants? What is the distinction
Servants
between?
are not slaves.
What is the distinction between?
Well, the
slaves
distinction
and-
is that servants have a contract with you. They will provide you a service for the X amount that you give
pay
them.
them.
You pay them for a
Right.
service. So you say, for example, that you will do all of this work, and that's how much I will pay you. These are the things. All
You don't pay slaves.
No, they
Right.
didn't place slaves because they were
Right.
bought.
Right.
So the Holy Prophet has a very famous tradition. لا تكن عبد غيرك وقد جعلك الله حرا. Do not be slaves of other people when God has made you a free person. You see, people were how did they become slaves?
Subhanallah.
For example, there were two men holding 200 people. Okay, you're slaves. How did it work? So do not become slaves of the people. They had mentally been, taught that you belong to a slave, for example. And that was something that the Holy Prophet said, no. How can you, so there were certain rules that he brought in that brought in reforms to the society. So you cannot own. Today, buying and selling slaves is forbidden completely in Iran. There is no dispute on it. Last question. Yes.
With one of Muhammad's wife, or one of his wives, I think I read that he killed the woman's husband, then he married the woman. So if he done that, would that be allowed to happen today?
I don't think there was any incident where he had. There may have been a case where they were probably a non-Muslim town where the killing had gone on. He did not fight ever. Only once he defended in the Battle of Hunayn. It is proven in history that Muhammad did not lift a sword, did not kill a single person in his life. He did not even fight. In any of the battles that he went to, he would appoint a commander-in-chief of an army. And this person is the commander-in-chief of the army, for example. He would not fight himself. He would not even lift a sword. He knew how to fight, but he would not. And when asked by his son-in-law, Ali ibn Abi Talib, why did the Holy Prophet not lift the sword? He said, because he was a mercy for the universe. And the mercy and fighting do not go hand in hand together. So he did not lift the sword to kill anyone, ever. He would say that this person this is the ruling for, punished. There is a proof that there was a town that was attacked, and the people died in that town, and there was a woman brought to the Holy Prophet whose husband had been killed in that battle, and he had married her, or she had said that I become a Muslim because of the treatment of the Muslims with the women and the children. We thought that you will take us all as slaves, and he said, no, you're all free. And she said, I want to become a Muslim, and she offered herself, and he had married her. This was in the Battle of Khaybar, and she was a sister of Marhab, a Jewish warrior, and probably her husband was also a warrior. I do not recall, but her brothers were warriors, I think. That's the only story that I recall. So there was never a case, I don't think, probably you misheard, or probably that he ever killed a person and married their wife. I answered this again.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm sure you all agree with me that it's been a great time, it's been a great lecture. And there are some leaflets available outside about our faith and some information about Ahlul Bayt as well. Feel free to collect them, and please fill in the feedback forms. It's a great help to the society. And we thank you all very much for attending this lecture.